Hi, I'm Michael Katz. I'm the creator and writer of the newest book on Kickstarter, Metalhead, and you were listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a very talented critic. He's been on the show before with his past amazing works from Rioter and, of course, many more comics in between. We're joined by the ever talented, bringing a brand new comic this time around, Michael S. Katz. How are you doing today?
Good, good. Thanks for having me back, Kurt. Appreciate it.
We're talking about a brand new comic. I don't want to jump too far ahead because I want you to tell us all about this amazing, not safe for work comic this time around. For those that don't know anything about yourself, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to Two Geeks Talking.
By day, I'm an attorney, but in my heart, I'm not. In my heart, I'm a comic book writer. I've been in the part-time publishing and writing since 2002, but I've been doing comics for about 3 years now. Writer was my first project. I did 3 issues of that, and then I did my Golden Years trade, which was a 5 issue miniseries all collected together. I like people to have complete stories when they read, so they don't have to wait, because when you're dealing with Kickstarter, there can be long waits in between issues.
So, what's the project this time around?
Metalhead is, hardcore sci-fi, not safe for work. It's got adult themes. It's got sex in it. If you check out our Kickstarter page, you'll see some of the sample pages edited for public consumption. There are some sex scenes in the book. We have a variant cover with nudity on it as well. It's going to be a 48-page book plus bonus materials, including some pinups. And this is part one of two. The second and final issue is going to be coming out later this year. My artist is a little more than halfway through it already. Yeah, I like to have my books done before I put them on Kickstarter. Once Kickstarter is over, I want people to have the books in their hands, within 4 to 6 weeks thereafter.
That's what I love about the other campaigns I've backed as well too. Like the turnaround time is incredible for
Mhm.
Kickstarter campaign. That's amazing in itself. But the quality of not only the stories and the artwork, but the quality of the books themselves are really amazing and really well done. It's well worth the money, to be honest.
Well, thank you. I've been lucky. I've been able to connect with really talented people, some with big names, some without big names, but who have been able to use these projects to go on to bigger and better things. For example, one of the artists in Golden Years, a guy named Neto Diaz, was able to use the work that he did on that book to parlay into a full-time job for Marvel Comics. And he was doing he did Thunderbolts, then X-Men, and now he's doing Predator. Yeah, so he's got some really cool projects he's working on.
That's awesome. Man, now I have to go to my local comic book store and start picking some of those up. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So who's the artist this time around for Metalhead?
A guy named Bruno Abdias. Neto obviously wasn't available anymore because he's too busy working for Marvel. I asked him if he knew anybody, and he put me in touch with Bruno. And Bruno's work is just amazing. He's a young guy, but I think he's an up and comer. His artwork has this kind of Alan Davis, Brian Hitch, Paul Neary flair to it. I think he's going to open up some eyes. He's more than solid. He's just really, really good. His work is really, really professional.
So what was a piece of artwork that you got back from him that was better than what you had in script?
Every piece. He's one of those artists that doesn't disappoint. Every time he has a page, I don't need to change anything. That's always nice when you don't have any issues with the person's artwork.
no notes, so that's a good thing.
I do have a little artistic ability myself, so I design the characters. He takes my designs and polishes them, quite a lot. Once it gets to the page itself, he really, puts pen to paper quite well.
That's what I love. The action that you have in this comic from the preview. I got to read the colors themselves as well too. The interaction of the characters. What is the elevator pitch, so to speak, of this particular comic?
It takes place present time shortly after an alien invasion, and the aliens have concentrated their efforts over Australia, and the rest of the world has left them to their own devices. So Australia is kind of on its own. And that's kind of why I picked Australia as the setting because I wanted a country slash continent that would be able to be ignored by the rest of the world. So our protagonist is Phil. He is one of hundreds of mindless slaves who are plugged into alien exoskeletons so they can conduct mining. And Phil is special because he was in a car accident as a kid and he wound up with a metal plate in his head. And that's where the name Metalhead comes from. So the plate interferes with the exosuit, and he has dreams and flashbacks of aliens who have worn the suit in the past. And he's able, therefore, to shake off the brainwashing and think for himself and use his exosuit for his own devices.
It just means I've already backed it, so it's just
Appreciate it.
it's too amazing not to back, and I can't wait for part two. I'll definitely be backing that for sure to find
Right.
this amazing conclusion as well, because the what I got to read, you left me on the edge of my seat. Like I wanted more right then and there. Like darn you, that's just too good.
It's a very fast-paced book. I could have stretched it. It's set to be 96 pages total. I could have stretched it more, and I could actually add afterwards, but that 96 pages is going to be very fast paced. And that's it's people have read it so far have said, and I think it's turned out really well.
It definitely has for sure. What are some of the similarities from this work compared to your past works influenced Metalhead?
Everything I do, I want to get into the characters' minds. With Riot Earp, Officer Earp is kind of a fish out of water dealing with America in 2055. And he also has PTSD from some issues that he's faced on his adventures. Golden Years was about Captain Future, who was transported from 1950 to the present. And again, you got that fish out of water, uh, mentally that he's got to deal with. So in Metalhead, the characterization comes from the hero Phil, uh, dealing with the sharing his mind with other aliens, um, and at the same time he's got to escape from the invaders and he's got to escape from people in his own government who are out to capture him.
That's what I love. Your character development is well done, and your stories are straight and to the point. There's no fluff, so
Mhm.
that's always wonderful to read through
Yeah,
as a
thanks. We don't.
consumer.
Yeah, when you do Kickstarter, you don't have time for fluff. You know, you gotta catch people right away to get them to come back. And I've been lucky. I've had a lot of people every time I send the books out because I do it myself. I recognize a lot of names every time around, so it's nice to have some fans.
Repeat customers
Right,
or sorry, repeat fans, right?
right, both. Yeah,
the campaign itself is currently ongoing as of this recording. How's the campaign been so far, and what tiers are, I should say, do we have to look forward to?
Campaign has done quite well so far in the first week. We're already past the 50% point. Tiers, we have the standard book, digital, then hard copy. We have the variant cover, which is the nude cover featuring the two main females in the book. We have what I usually like to do is release pinups. Uh, yeah, the artists always do pinups, and they're usually 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12. Yeah, quality paper, almost cardboard. So they're, suitable to put up on the wall if you want. You can get both copies of the book. You can get our usual Strider Nolan sampler, which is 4 books from my publishing company, a variety of genres. Then we have commissions. We have commissions by the book's artist Bruno Abdias. We have commissions from writer artist Fred Bennis,
Oh,
and commissions from Daryl Banks,
oh wow.
who did the writer special and is working on my next book, Horror Show, with me. Yeah,
That's amazing. How's that project going?
it's going great. It's really scheduling is really up to Daryl. He's got a full-time job to deal with, and he does freelance stuff for DC Comics. So I've got to come last, but he never forgets about me. He can put out maybe 2 or 3 pages a week. So anytime he's got free time, he's able to plug me in and do a couple pages for me. And it's a 40-page book, and we're up to page 28, I think.
Wow.
So he thinks that it'll be done this year, and I hope so too. I could launch the Kickstarter anytime, but I prefer to have the books completed before I do. I want that turnaround to be as fast as possible. As soon as the Kickstarter campaign is done, books go to the printer. I know exactly how many I need printed, and they will be printed and shipped within 4 to 6 weeks thereafter.
Out of all the times you've been on the show, this is your very first not safe for work comic, which, hey, I'm not arguing against whatsoever. I think it's a well done piece of work personally as well too. Why did you want to create a not safe for work comic this time around?
Well, 2 reasons. First, these kinds of books seem to sell better on Kickstarter, so that's kind of an experiment there.
Mhm.
But I've always been a fan of Heavy Metal Magazine. I mean, I remember watching the movie when it came out, I think back in the 70s. I remember getting the magazine, and I still pick up the magazine from time to time. There's something special about those adult situations that you get when you are dealing with Heavy Metal Magazine. And I wanted to put some of that in Metalhead.
From what I've got to read, it's tastefully done, to be perfectly honest. Like, I
Mm,
mean, yes, there's nudity, but the situation that arises from that, and I'm not trying to give any spoilers, is just it just fits. Like there's
right.
like your rest of your style, there's no wasted space whatsoever. So
Yeah, yeah. It like you said, it's I'd like to think it's tasteful. It's tastefully done. I didn't go overboard. There's language, but it's not overboard. There's violence, but it's not overboard, and there's sexual situations, but it's not overboard. So you could show it to someone 13 years old and not get into too much trouble.
it's not like they haven't seen it already on the internet whatsoever already. So you, you're not breaking any barriers in that respect. I mean, Well, Michael, I do hate to say it, but that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show again.
Thanks for having me again, Kurt. I really appreciate it.
Keep up the amazing work. But for those that want to find you and support you, and of course, support the Kickstarter campaign for Metalhead, tell us where we can find you and where the campaign is at.
You can usually most commonly find me on Twitter at Strider Nolan, uh, and Instagram Strider Nolan 13. My website is stridernolan.com. That's my publishing company. Um, but uh, check out Kickstarter. Check out the campaign for Metalhead, and you can go on a Kickstarter and do a search, and Metalhead will pop up first because it's the only one that's currently running under that name.
Well, I can't wait to see this horror comic as well coming down the pipe soon enough, and I'm sure you'll be back on to talk about that whenever that
Sure.
becomes available, and I'll be happy to have you. Like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,000 plus others on our website, tttmedia.com or twogeekstalking.com. That's the word two, T-O-W, not the number two. That's a totally different website. You can, of course, find all of these interviews on our YouTube channel because the website is going through a revamp, which is youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast is back on Podbean, which is twogeekstalking.podbean.com, but search for Two Geeks Talking on any of your favorite podcast streaming services where you get your podcasts on. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.